Now, after the shooting match that is well renowned, Robin Hood and the merry men retired to Sherwood Forest, and Robin felt it best for his men to lay low for a little while, and therefore they had not gone forth from Sherwood for quite some time. Instead, they stayed in the forest, or occasionally they might go a little bit afield, but not far enough that they could have a hard time getting back to the forest if they ever had trouble. And therefore, quite some time, the merry men were quite relaxed, living off the land, hunting and fishing and gathering food from the woods, and every night merrymaking, telling tales, and otherwise indisposed. Now, one day, the sun rose high in the sky. There was not a cloud to block it. And so the light shone through the leaves and boughs, casting a green light onto the forest floor. And the birds sang happily, and this woke Robin up from his sleep. And so he got up and prepared for the day. And as he did so, all the other merry men also rose up from where they were sleeping. And they ate their meal, broke fast. And then as they were cleaning the camp, Little John, Robin's friend, pulled him aside and said, "Let us go on a jaunt." And so Robin agreed, and they went forth on a trail and went off into the forest as the merry men took care of cleaning the camp. And the two men walked side by side and said to themselves, "This is a wonderful day." And finally Robin turned to Little John and said, "Little John, my blood is tingling. I feel adventure. Let us go forth and find it. What say ye?" And Little John returned, "Indeed, I find that this is a great day. Let us go forth. I have an idea. Let us, when we come to a fork in the trail, go left, and I shall go right. And then to the night's feast, when we gather around the fire, we shall tell our story, and the men shall decide who had the best adventure." Robin, always being on game for such things, agreed. And when they came to a break, a fork in the trail, Robin took the left path, and John took the right. Now this story is what happened to Robin as he took the left-hand side. Now, Robin, for quite some time, walked down this narrow forest trail, and eventually he began to despair of finding anything interesting enough to tell a story about. But finally, as he was wandering on the road, around the turn, he spied somebody sitting on a rock. He said to himself, "Well, this might be interesting. Let's find out what this man is up to." And so he sat and watched. For this man was dressed in a most interesting manner, like nothing Robin had ever seen. He was dressed from head to toe in the skin of a horse. He had made a jacket with the hair still on a horse. And then he had cinched up this around his waist. He wore a broadsword and a dagger. On his legs, he also had the skin of a horse with the hair still on it. And over his head, he pulled a cowl so that you could not see his face, but you could still see the ears of the horse, so he looked like a jackrabbit. Now, needless to say, Robin was very amused by this outfit, but he was also very curious, and so he decided to come forth, called out, "Hello, good morrow. Who be you? What brings you to the forest?" And this stranger looked up from where he sat on this mossy rock, and looked over at Robin. And as he did so, Robin saw the man's face for the first time. The man's brow was knit, and his eyes were black, so you could not read them. His nose was sharp and hooked. And one got the impression that this man was like a hawk, staring at his prey. The man answered, "What will be you, stranger?" Now, my friend, I am from here, and I am also the person that asked first. Courtesy would reply what your name was. I am Gisbourne from Herefordshire, and I am a man of great repute. Perhaps you've heard of me. Indeed, Robin had. He knew of this name, for he was famous throughout the land. He had an ill will for all men, a legacy of robbery and murder. Unlike Robin, who was an outlaw, but was a friend to the poor, no one liked Gisbourne, for he had wronged all. Indeed, I have heard of you, and I'm quite glad to meet you, sir. For indeed, the way you're dressed, I thought maybe you'd been sent up from below by King Nicholas to gather me up. Yeah. You have a sharp tongue, my friend. Yes, I've heard such. But indeed, why are you here? Not that it is any of your business. But I see no point in telling you not. I'm a famous outlaw, wanted on the bishop's land. But the bishop himself passed word that the sheriff of Nottingham had a proposal for me. Oh, indeed. What is that? He'd give me a full pardon from the crown for all of my crimes, and £200 to boot, if I'd bring Robin dead or alive. Now this made Robin's blood boil, that a man would sell him for £200 to the sheriff, let alone a man such as this, who had also been outside the law. And who are you? Well, I'm just a simple yeoman from these parts. And what do you plan to do to Robin once you find him? I have no reason to bring him in alive, for in alive he's much more trouble. I'll kill him as easily as I skin a deer. Done. For I'll have you know, I'd kill any man, my own brother, for half the price. Indeed, you are a man most fierce. I see you have a bow with you. Are you, is that how you will do it? I heard that Robin is a great archer, but I fear no man from this swine pit. I'm from Herefordshire, where we really know how to shoot a bow. Ah, indeed. As I said, I'm just a simple yeoman. Would you mind challenging me? You can test your mettle. For I can tell you, if you cannot beat me, then you will not be Robin. Bold fellow, aren't you? I'll have you know, I stabbed a man outside of Lincolnshire for half as much. But for some reason, I feel as though I should. I feel as though I shall. Yes. I take your challenge. We're in a good garland right now. Garlands are for children. Let me show you how we do it here. And so Robin went off into the woods, and he found a hazel switch. He cut it 2 thumbs length, stripped off the bark, sharpened it to a point. He tipped his peg and he drove it into the ground. And then he walked 80 paces, said, "This shall be our target." The guy stared at it. "That's too far." "Oh, indeed. Well, we shall see. I shall let you go first." And if we do not strike it, then we'll move in for the next round. Guy strung his bow, and he took his first shot. He missed by a span, and you could see him growing frustrated. So he drew forth another long arrow, took his time, shot. This one missed only by a hand's breadth, but he still missed. I told you it was too far. The fact that you haven't hit it doesn't mean that it's too far. It's my turn. Now Robin strung his bow. He took his shot. This, he missed by a thumb's width. And immediately he knew what he did wrong. And he corrected, and he shot again. This time he split it in two. And at that point, he threw down his bow. There, you swine, you villain. What do you think of that? I'll have you know nothing of the Navy Yards. You said you would like to kill Robin when you saw him? Well, here I am, I be Robin Hood. What say you? Shall you eat your words or live to that first guy? Stood dumbfounded. And finally, he smiled. Ah, indeed, it could be no other. Fine. I'm glad I've met you. And how I've done with it. And he drew his broadsword. And Robin drew his sword, and the sun danced on the blade. Now the two of them were almost evenly matched. And they fought for some time, and they crushed the grass in the meadow around them. And blood from 1,000 cuts was sprayed across the grass. None serious. But as they went on, both men could feel their strength waning. And Guy grew desperate, and finally he launched an attack with all his remaining strength and drove Robin back. Robin tripped, and he fell back on his back because of a root. Guy, seeing his opportunity, the evil intent drove down at Robin. But Robin pushed the blade away with the palm of his hand, cutting it deeply, a scar that he carried for the rest of his life. And with a sword stuck in the root. And as he did so, Robin jumped up and thrust at the weakest point of Guy's armor, punching it directly under the neck. And Guy, undone, dropped his blade, turned, and fell dead. And at that point, Robin leapt up from the ground and said, I've never felt so good about this. No man that I've ever slain has deserved it as much as you, you vile man. I feel no guilt for your death. And then he turned his sword on the horsehair armor of Guy of Gisbourne. And he took his blade and sheathed it. And then he thought, as he recovered from this hasty battle, he thought of a plan to punish the sheriff for sending this assassin against him. But that is another story.